What's up, people? It's your boy Tony Guns again, back at y'all with another one. Tony G, Tony Guns, whichever you wish to call me. I want to welcome y'all back to the Black Ops Band Dog channel, Black Ops Band Dog TV. You know, we all about improving our conditions, building leaders and creating kings, while building national development over generations. That's what it's about. Today's topic, I'm gonna come back at y'all with the same thing we talked about, a few days ago, which was emotional intelligence. I want to give a brief synopsis on a time or a manner in which intelligence and emotional intelligence came into a part, at least emotions in general came into play. So there's a story about a young surfer. He hops out of his truck, takes his surfboard from the top of his truck, probably had a Jeep or something. You know how they do out there in California. On the beaches and things of that nature. I don't know. I'm just sitting here making an assumption. I ain't never been, don't know nothing about it for real. But nevertheless, he hopped out of his truck. Early in the morning, he wanted to catch some waves. So he hopped on his surfboard. He eagerly approached the shoreline and then, hopped on the surfboard and paddled into the open waters. There's a group of other surfers that had the same plan in mind. He really wanted to catch the wave by himself away from the crowd, so he paddled about 40 yards away from, the group of other surfers that he seen that day. He had reached a smaller island or a smaller beach that was close by where he waited for the right wave. He wanted to catch the wave. He was waiting for the right wave. While waiting for the right wave, while waiting for the right wave, he seen a dark shadow, but then didn't see it anymore. He didn't really pay attention to it. Mind you, it's a sunny day. You have trees and things of that nature that may be around, but he didn't pay much attention. Nevertheless, he seen the perfect wave that he was ready to catch. So while he laid on his board, on his stomach on his board, waiting for the wave to approach so he was able to catch that wave, he then seen another shadow, in which this time he looked over his right shoulder and seen a dorsal fin, 14 inches in length, piercing through the waters, coming straight towards him. Paralyzed with fear, not knowing what to do, the young surfer, while on top of his board, instead of catching that wave and allowing that wave to come and floating or surfing that wave to get him closer or further away from the shark and closer towards shoreline, he's paralyzed with fear and terror and allows the allows the wave to pass him by. He allows the wave to pass him by. That was his speedy getaway. So now he's just left there with just himself and the shark. He's certain it's a shark now. He was able to see exactly what it was. The shark is rapidly approaching. The shark absolutely is dead now because it says it was circling him. The shark started to circle him. Him paralyzed with fear, not knowing what to do, he automatically think to himself, I'm surely going to die. This is the end of my life. He's thinking about his kids, what he could have done, what he should have done, whether or not they're going to remember him and things of that nature. He's worried about his old lady, how long is it going to take for her to move on after he's gone, how long is it going to take for her to move on? And, those type of things is running through his mind. The first key element, before I keep going, the first key element in that where he lost his mind and his emotional intelligence was when he first seen that dorsal fin. He knew what it was, or roundabout what it was, regardless of whether he thought it was a dolphin or a shark. You knew it was something coming towards you, and it was something that otherwise had you terrified. Instead of hopping on his board and riding that wave to get a speedy recovery, giving himself a chance to get away, you were paralyzed with fear and you stuck there. Your emotions took over your rational thinking. His emotions took over his rational thinking. As opposed to getting away, you stayed there. Didn't know what to do. So to speed things up, shark circle. Him still paralyzed on his board, on top of his board. He never stands on top of it. He's floating on top of his board. His leg is dangling in the water. The shark decides to stop circling and the shark decides to commence with the attack. Shark speeding towards him. He comes up out of the water, and in this moment, he's thinking, I'm surely dead. this is the end of it. Thinking that his leg was going to be torn off and then he was going to be poured into the water. However, that wasn't the case. That shark actually mistimed the attack, and the only thing he did was actually knock the surfer into the water. Frantic, the shark shook and splashed maniacally. Then he commenced with the onslaught. He circled him again. Started to circle the surfer again. At this point, he's flooded with emotions. Fear is definitely taken over. But the thing is, now he's inside of the water, so not only is he scared and terrified that he's inside of the water, he now has to focus on keeping afloat. So with his hands draped over the board, and surely thinking that he's getting ready to die, now anger comes because the shark is seemingly playing with him, like a cat and mouse game. So now anger takes over. He's asking himself questions like, what is it taking the shark so long to attack? Get it over with already. Now he's ready to die. He believes it's going to happen. And that anyway, he believes the inevitable is going to happen anyway. Let's get it done and over with. But that anger became useful, which is another emotion. But that anger became useful because this time, once the shark actually attacked, he made a conscious decision to put himself and to put the board in between himself and the shark to serve as a barrier. To serve as a barrier between the two. So this particular time when the sharks attacked, he took the spear point or the sharper point of his surfboard and jammed it into the shark's gills. He was aiming for the shark's eye, however he missed, but nevertheless he still got the job done because he thwarted the shark's attack. Shark wasn't able to attack him. Shark went into a frenzy again. He stood on top of his board at this point and yelled out to surfers that were coming closer, "It's a shark in the water." Everyone frantically went to the other side to get away, to the shoreline, to get away from the shark, and just watched in fear as this man, this surfer, by himself, tangled with a shark. At this point, fear takes over again. He's now paralyzed all over again. He lays lifelessly on his bed, heart pounding out of his chest, just waiting for the shark to approach. He gives up again. This particular time, he knows what he has to do, or at least he knows what he should do. But for whatever reason, he don't make the decision to do it. He knows exactly what he has to do, but don't make the decision to do it. So then the thing comes, or then the point comes when the shark begins to attack again. This particular time, he positioned his board in front of the shark again to serve as a barrier, and he was able to do that. Just then, a wave started to approach. As the wave started to approach, he got in flight mode. Of course, he's not thinking, let me get on my board and surf away. But he did lay on that board and paddle as fast as he could, as hard as he could, as the blood came back to his arms and he regained his strength. He was able to get to shore. He went through plenty of emotional stages at that moment and in that moment. First was fear, paralyzing fear. The second was anger. And in his despair, he just gave up in general. And then, realizing that he's going to die, he became more rational. Well, if I'm going to die, I have to at least put up an effort to save myself. It's going to be a short one. It ain't a lot more to talk about than that. I'll elaborate on it once we get an opportunity to come back together. For now, I'm going to leave y'all with that. Just give some thought on our emotional intelligence and how it affects us. How it can truly shut our bodies down in times of need.